It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
I'm not happy.
So no doubt Melvin Capital is in a lot of pain.
There will be carnage, I can guarantee you.
They're starting to have to unwind their longs in order to pay for the pain that they are seeing in these other short positions that are getting absolutely crushed.
It is a corrupt system.
A casino-like atmosphere.
But when they all come to get out of that movie theater because somebody yelled fire, that door is only so big.
Now it's almost become this risk that if you're publicly coming out as a hedge fund and disclosing the stocks that you're against as one trader, as one Twitter user put it, you're at risk of getting Melvined.
The reason the market is doing what it's doing is people are sitting at home, getting the checks from the government.
Grandma and the little guy have all banded together into a big group, and they've done this to the stocks.
It's just a way of attacking wealthy people.
The authorities, should they step in?
You know, you have these massive bailouts. You have the Federal Reserve pumping money into failing banks and corporations. And then, I don't know, how many segments did CNBC do to talk about how the market is manipulated by these very companies and banks?
This fair share is a bullshit concept.
Ban social networks to talk about buying short stocks.
There's a number of different ways that the stock market is manipulated or, artificially moved in one direction or another. I generally think that almost all of it is absolute BS.
It is a corrupt system.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, hey everybody, welcome to the show. We got a good show today. Is it Wednesday? All the days melt into each other, okay? Because we're still doing the COVID thing. All right, so I know for me, like forgetting what day it is, this is one of those things. All right, so we got a good show for you nonetheless. It's going to be interesting. We've got Texas that is trying to kill its own citizens, at least the Texas government. And oh, cringe from Michael Flynn. I'm sorry, not Michael Flynn. Michael Moore on that. Oof. Come on, dude. All right, well, we'll get to all that. We've got the Democrats cave to Joe Manchin. I know technically Joe Manchin is supposed to be a Democrat, but you know what, doesn't really count. Because I'm just saying, you'll see the position. Of course, then we've got AOC, who's not happy about the stuff that's been changed in the COVID bill. And then Alex Jones, tired of Trump. Fun. I know a lot of these stories you've probably seen other people talk about, but as always, I try to kind of put in my own perspective on this. So, all right. Anyway, before we get into the stories, please like and share the stream. Very helpful if you do so. We're on, of course, different platforms. We have a stream on Twitch. We have a stream on Facebook. We're streaming, of course, on YouTube. So please share on your respective platforms. It helps the show get out, of course. All right. So before we get into it, though, did I mention Neera Tanden? I don't know if I did or not. But Neera Tanden, you know what? This deserves the normal treatment. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes Neera Tanden. Yes, Neera Tanden is no longer in the running for the Office of Management and Budget. Done. She's done. And again, the problem, I know the whole thing was like, oh, Neera Tanden's bad tweets. No, it wasn't about Neera Tanden's bad tweets. It was about the way that she managed the Center for American Progress and how she called on like her positions, for example, in her emails, when she was talking about taking Libyan oil. I mean, that's a Trump position. Where'd that clip originally come from? Bin Laden raid. It's also about her bad policy. That's also true. It's not what the media is talking about. And there are people that I do like, and there are people that I do respect that are angry at this, as like, oh, how dare you, take down this qualified woman. But she's deeply unqualified. Her leadership style is akin to Amy Klobuchar throwing staplers. Okay, I forget. I forget the person that she punched. She not only punched somebody. What was it? Faiz Shakir. I'm not sure if that was the person. But then, there was also the outing of somebody who was alleging sexual harassment at the Center for American Progress. She's had a long and storied history of just doing terrible things. And so she has not shown much leadership ability. And that is not somebody that you should have in a leadership position. Someone like that. And so, yeah, it wasn't about the tweets. It was about how her actions, what she has, done. And of course, she's also terrible to progressives, but, whatever, right? Generally, though, I don't think that she would have been a very good person for that position. So it is a little frustrating to me. All right. So anyway, overall, it's great news that she is not going to take over that position. Again, nominating her and fighting harder for her than he did for $15 an hour, a minimum wage. It's just, it really shows you the Biden administration and really what their priorities are about. And it's not about us. Some of her tweets are, going after Republicans are fantastic, actually. And so that wasn't a problem at all. I think the Republicans were just crying because Republicans cry and cry all day long. I think some of those tweets that she made against Republicans are super accurate. But she did go after progressives quite a bit as well. Biden said he'd find her another position. I don't know. Hopefully it's not, making policy anywhere. All right. So anyway, that's good news. We got plenty of bad. All right. So I guess we should just get into that. All right. On Tuesday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott informed everyone via tweet that Texas was lifting the mask requirements, its mask mandates, for its 29 million residents, and will allow business to fully reopen at 100% capacity, not reduced capacity. He's just like, just open it up already. We're done. We're done with this whole COVID thing. It's over. That's actually not, but because it is facing pushback from not only experts, medical experts, but also local Texas officials. They are not happy about this either. So as I said, it was announced via a tweet. There are a couple of tweets in this thread. Here's one of them. He said, too many Texans have been sidelined from employment opportunities. Too many small business owners have struggled to pay their bills. This must end. It is now time to open Texas 100%. He followed up by pushing some stats here. More than 7 million vaccinations will be given by next week. We do about 1 million a week. We gave 216,000 shots today alone. More than 50% of seniors will be vaccinated. Hospitalizations and the positivity rate are lowest in 4 months. All Texans know the safe practices. All right, so now here's the thing. Those numbers are okay, that's good, right? Yes, we want more vaccines. We want more people being vaccinated. We want all that stuff. Now, the Trump administration kind of screwed us on that for a while because they didn't have a vaccine reserve. They didn't get them. They didn't really have a plan to be able to get that many people vaccinated. So the Trump administration definitely dropped the ball. No mention about that. Also, no mention about how the Biden administration has actually had to pick that up and has done some things that have absolutely, helped get more people vaccinated. That's a good thing. And to get vaccines out there. But even so, the Biden administration has been lagging behind a little bit as well. And again, there's only so much you can do when the administration before you kind of sucked. But all right. Anyway, the number of vaccinations, okay, that's good. That's not nearly enough. I mean, right now, less than 7% of Texans are fully vaccinated. So, you need about 90% vaccination rate to reach herd immunity. Herd immunity is when you can actually open up. You're at 7%. You got to be at 90. You're kind of far away. Not good. And by the way, the number, he says there was a drop in cases, right, over the last month. It's actually, there was a drop and then it's plateaued. And so that is the number of cases have declined, right? And and here's the other thing. The number of testing has also declined. So really, there can be new cases popping up, but if there's not testing to, confirm the numbers, then, well, I mean, the absence of tests does not mean that an absence of cases. So I don't think they're as ready as they think. But, Greg Abbott doesn't really care. Greg Abbott is doing this for political reasons because he wants to open up his state. He wants to say, look at me. We've done such a fantastic job. I mean, not with the ice storm, not with the power grid or not anything like that. But look at that. We've been able to open up restaurants. Go have at it. Everybody get your ass back to work. Well, that's, of course, in opposition to many health officials. For example, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Here's what she said. I know people are tired. They want to get back to life, to normal, but we're not there yet. Believe me, nothing bums me out more than, not being able to get back to normal. It's true. We still got a while to go. We still got probably about at least half a year until we can start to open up and get back to normal. It sucks. And really, we can't get back to normal. It's more of like a return to some semblance of normal, okay? And for me personally, I want to go back to getting inside of a restaurant. I want to go out and I want to visit family members, but what we got to do is we got to get people vaccinated first. We've got to drop those cases. And we got to get people protected. So until we do that, we're kind of stuck. Now, here's another expert here, Robert Horsfa, who's an epidemiologist at the Boston University School of Public Health. Here's what he said. We are hopefully in between what I hope will be the last big wave and the beginning of the period where I hope COVID will become very uncommon. But we don't know that. I've been advocating for us to just hang tight for at least 4 to 6 more weeks. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than that because, again, you have states that are opening up too quickly, and you also have people that are refusing to get vaccines and refusing to wear masks. So the thing that always frustrates me, of course, is where they're like, do you have people that I go, mask tyranny? I'm not going to wear the mask. You're never going to muzzle me, liberals. Okay, well, if you don't want to wear the mask, then get the vaccine. I don't want to get the vaccine either. Well, then what do you want to do? spread the virus around to people? Because that's what you're doing. It's ridiculous. It's incredibly frustrating dealing with those types of people. Now, there's more here. Jennifer Nuzzo, another epidemiologist at Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, said that there are signs that the country may be through the worst, but says that states, as a result of numbers that are going down, are opening too quickly, repeating the same mistakes they made earlier in the pandemic when you loosen the rules. And of course, that ended up driving gigantic spikes in new cases. In fact, Dr. Nuzzo says, quote, rather than opening a few lower risk things and seeing just to make sure it doesn't change the numbers, it just feels like they're kind of open at the floodgates. Yeah, that kind of feels like that. It really does feel like that. Like they're like, yeah, just get everything open already. Back to normal. Get everybody back to work. You're going to get people killed. And now, interestingly enough, there are some provisions in the reopening of Texas that have local officials very unhappy about this. You've got mayors and county judges in some of Texas's largest urban areas that are criticizing this. Here's a Republican, Fort Worth Mayor Betsy Price. She called the order premature and asked him to allow more people to get vaccinated, which, again, is smart policy. Quote, I am calling on Governor Abbott to open up an additional vaccine tier categories so that more people are eligible to get a vaccine if they want one. Price said in a statement, as the state's directive has changed, so must our response. Now more than ever, vaccines and testing must be readily available. Now, look, here in Michigan, Governor Whitmer just made it so that everybody over the age of 50 are now able to go and get vaccines. It was relegated to people who were, sick, had pre-existing conditions, things like that. And so, okay, that's good. You're expanding that out, but Michigan is also not completely reopening everything, unlike what Texas is doing. And Texas hasn't increased the vaccine eligibility. They're just like, 7%, good enough. Get out there. Get out there and make Daddy Abbott proud by dying of COVID like a true Texan. It's like the Alamo, but with fail. It's the Failamo. What it is. All right, so now city and county officials also urge residents in their area to still follow recommendations from health experts and officials that call for wearing face masks in public. Look, if there was actually a mandate, and there was, and people didn't follow it, what makes you think that a polite suggestion is also going to work? It's not. It's not. But here's Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins. Here's what they're saying. We need to focus not on what the governor tells you the law allows, but what the doctors and the facts and the science that we all know well at this point tell us is necessary to keep us safe and give us our best chance of reaching herd immunity as quickly as possible. And as I said before, that is making sure that everybody has vaccines. And there's only so many vaccines that you can not only manufacture, ship out, but also get into the arms of regular people. And so right now, we just don't have enough available. And the administration is attempting to do so. But again, there's only so much you can do. All right. So now there's more outrage, and some of it comes from the latest order not allowing local leaders to enforce mask mandates if they so choose. The order also removes the ability of local leaders to compel businesses to require their customers wear face masks. So that's the other thing. So now it's like, well, not only are you not able to, as a locality or as a city, do mask mandates, right? But also, we can't tell you to compel businesses to, or I'm sorry, we say that you cannot compel businesses to order that your customers wear masks as well. So here we go. Texas is becoming COVID central. That's what's going to happen. Now, The order establishes that nothing precludes businesses or other establishments from requiring employees or customers to follow additional hygiene measures, including the wearing of a face covering. But of course, that's once again a polite suggestion. Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf, as a response to all of this, said this: "I'm very disappointed. It's an irresponsible action. We are still not out of the woods, and I think it's very premature to do this." Now, Wolf is one of the first county judges to force businesses to use these mask mandates in June of last year. So he did that by actually being smart, reading the order, and finding a loophole. Now, that loophole in Abbott's previous order, which didn't allow local leaders to establish mandates, he was able to find a way around that. Okay. And now with the new order, well, they plugged that loophole. They said that, oh, no, by the way, some people were getting around this to do mask mandates. Well, now you can't. Oh, great. Okay. In response, Wolf said this: he plugged that hole. He allowed businesses to do what they want to do. Wolf said that Abbott's latest order leaves counties limited to encouraging people to wear masks and socially distance. That's about all we can do from what we interpreted. Great. So you're not allowing localities to do the things that they think that they're going to do, that they would like to do. Okay. So that sucks. In El Paso County, a county that's seen more than 2,000 COVID-19 related deaths, County Judge Ricardo Samaniego tweeted that Abbott's order on masks would, quote, be equivalent to him stating that we don't have to wear our seatbelts, but it would be a good idea if we did. Oh, okay. Yeah, it would be a great idea. It's still amazing out there that there are people that are like, you shouldn't force me to wear seatbelts. But, okay, but do you want to go flying out the windshield of your car in an accident? Is that what you want to happen? And the response that baffles me is they're like, yeah, it's my freedom to fly through the windshield. Okay, but it's not your freedom to smash into someone else's car with your limp, dead body. You ever thought of that? I mean, seriously, that's what's going on. Okay, again, this whole thing isn't really about your personal freedom. Okay, what this is, your freedom, your personal freedom stops when you start affecting other people. So, if you get a disease or whatever and it's not transmissible, all right, hey, that's your problem, I guess. But when you spread it around to other people, that's when it gets to be a community problem. And that's when the community can come and say, okay, we need to put in some, safety precautions so you don't spread this disease around to everybody else in the community. Because you're screwing the rest of us. So, there you go. All right. Let's see. One more here. This is Harris County Judge Linda Hidalgo. Here's what she said. With the arrival of COVID-19 vaccines, we're inching closer to the finish line of this pandemic. Okay, good. Now is not the time to reverse the gains we've worked so hard to achieve. At best, today's decision is wishful thinking. At worst, it's a cynical attempt to distract Texans from the failures of state oversight of our power grid. Now, that 100%. All right. This is what this is basically being seen as is a political move. Texans are understandably very pissed off that the Texas power grid was so easily knocked out during the recent storm. They failed to weatherize. They decided we weren't going to follow regulations. We're going to allow corporations to cut corners, but for cheaper prices, right? Hey, it's competition. It's the hand of the market, right? And so they allowed this, and one of the ways they cut corners and cut costs and were able to cut costs for consumers in order to appeal to them, is to not weatherize their equipment. So you had wind turbines. You had gas, basically gas plants that froze. They were not able to deliver energy to their customers. And in some cases, with the very limited cutthroat market that, Texans pay a lot of market rates, okay, for their electricity. Well, I mean, they ended up getting, as a result of deregulation, massive energy bills that they can't afford to pay, sometimes up to $10,000. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. And because the scarcity, of course, forced up the price. So what you had here is an absolute failure of the Texas government to be able to make sure that stuff like this doesn't actually happen. So, and look, again, they were mad. The people were mad, and understandably so. And their officials were nowhere to be found. I mean, Ted Cruz, he fled to Cancun. He left. And then when people got mad and called him out, that's when he came back and started doing quote unquote charity work, right? To try to help his constituents. In reality, if he wasn't called out, he would have been in Cancun until this was over. Let's be honest, on vacation. So this feels like, to me, a way to get the heat off the governor and his terrible response, because the buck stops there, by saying, hey, look, Texans, freedom, back to normal. So let's all go out, distract ourselves with movies and eating indoors, and you don't have to wear a mask anymore. That's fine. No mask required. Everybody go distract yourselves and be happy, because understandable, most people want to get back to normal. Most people want to hear that it's safe. We all want to, get back to living our lives. And so that would, understandably, that would get a lot of people to forget, I think, about the failures of the Texas government in dealing with these natural disasters. That's my read of it. But at the same time, here you have doctors, judges, local officials. They're all screaming, no, don't do it. We're not prepared for this. We're not prepared for this. This is going to end up being a disaster, because there will be a spike in cases as a result. That's going to suck, because here you have people that are going to go out. They're going to flood the bars. They're going to flood the restaurants. A lot of them aren't going to wear masks. Some of them will. But it's just going to end up going very badly. And that's the problem. All right. And so this is bad. And also, we have more infectious variants out there of this virus now than we had before. So before, it was very infectious. Now we had the variants coming from the UK, for example, that are even more infectious. And then you have Governor Abbott just saying, just go, spread out, go forth and spend money. It's not smart. It's really, really stupid. And it could lead to a nightmare scenario of a variant that mutates because they're not going to check the spread of this virus. They're just going to go, what if it mutates to where we don't have a vaccine for it anymore? That the vaccine is no longer has, it's no longer, it doesn't work. What's going to end up with that? What's going to end up there? And so it's not going to be a good situation. And that's the nightmare scenario. I hope that doesn't happen. I really don't. But that's why I say that maybe we should be a little bit more careful. Maybe Texas needs to slow it down just a little bit more until they have higher vaccination rates. Unfortunately, what we're seeing now from Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, a lot of these Texas Republican officials that are higher up in the state that don't actually care about the local communities. Well, we see that their political careers are far more important than their constituents. They're ironically bending to a small mob of anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, conspiracy theorists, and by doing all these haphazard openings, despite not being ready at all. Hospitals are going to be full, and so this is not going to go well in Texas. It's not going to go well, and it sucks because all they needed to do was hold out just a little bit longer, get as many people vaccinated as possible, hit that herd immunity, and then, you know what? We can go back to living our lives. I feel like everybody who's been so careful and that, has tried to do everything they can to avoid getting coronavirus, well, they're going to get screwed over because, well, you got to go back to work now. Okay. You got to go back to work, get exposed to COVID. And I mean, that's it. That's it. It's not a good situation. Not a good situation at all. All right. Let's move on. Senate Democrats have decided to shoot themselves in the foot by giving in to demands to further means test coronavirus stimulus payments, as well as dropping the $15 minimum wage provision. So now, let me read here from HuffPost. Bucking demands from so-called moderate Democrats, the proposed new version allows single filers with annual income under $75,000 to receive the full amount, phasing it out entirely for those with incomes of $80,000 or higher. So joint filers with annual incomes of less than $150,000 would each receive the full amount, but those above $160,000 would get no check. Those filing as head of household who make less than $112,500 will get the full amount, phasing out at $120,000. Under the original proposal, the numbers are fairly the same. However, the phase out is quicker. Payments phased out under the original proposal at about $100,000 for individuals, $200,000 for couples, and $150,000 for heads of households. So that means essentially less people will get checks. Less people will get checks now than they did under Donald Trump. That is a very curious position for the Democrats to take, don't you think? Very, very curious. Because as the math stands, $1,200 plus $600 under Donald Trump went out to actually more people. Whereas you have $1,400 under the Biden administration that will go out under Biden and the Democrats to less people. Now, does that make sense to you? Weird. Now, if you're looking for bad optics, you can't really do worse than having full control over the House, Senate, and the presidency and giving less in aid than the opposition party, especially when you campaigned on $2,000 checks. You promised that, and then, you won, but then you immediately nerfed it and then tried spending this ridiculous $1,400 plus $600. Well, who gave us the $600? Who? Wasn't Biden. He wasn't in office. So Republicans also still had the Senate. So, who gave you that 600 plus the 1,200? Who gave it to you? Yeah. So now this doesn't mean that Republicans are good. Republicans are awful. But we expect Democrats to be better than Republicans. And for some reason, they seem to not be. Again, Republicans, bad. Democrats, not doing a good job. All right. So this is not good. What they're doing is that the Democrats are right now stealing defeat from the jaws of victory. There's no reason they couldn't keep the original bill as it was, because it was better and actually fulfilling the $2,000 stimulus checks. But Biden and Senate leadership refused to rein in Joe Manchin. And that's the big problem. All right, that's the big problem. Joe Manchin got almost everything that he wanted from this, which ended up being less for the American people, which ended up being less for West Virginians. Again, that's what this does. It speeds the cutoff, so effectively less people get the $1,400 checks, which again, they're basing off 2019 income when a lot of people lost their jobs in 2020. And so as a result, there's a lot of rank and file Democrats that were really not happy about this. Senator Maria Cantwell from Washington said this, quote, "People desperately need resources, and we need to get these checks out the door. I think the package as it was originally crafted is good to go." Now, the change is different from the House version. House Democrats passed the $1,400 stimulus checks with the $15 minimum wage inside of it. It went to the Senate, and the Senate parliamentarians said, no, we're not gonna do that. So now, the fact that they have changed the eligibility to appease Joe Manchin means that they've got to send this back to the House. It's got to be amended and voted on again, which means, of course, it's going to take even longer to get money into the hands of the American people. And so that's a problem, all right? And so it's a violation of a campaign promise, of actually a couple of campaign promises, again, to try to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That was a campaign promise. And to get $2,000 checks out the door immediately. Bang up job, guys. Bang up job. And so now, the other thing is, as I mentioned, the $15 minimum wage. So let me talk about that. So now they've dropped that as a result of Joe Manchin saying that he would block this. Joe Manchin has his own minimum wage proposal, which would be a whopping $11 an hour. Ooh, wow. $11 an hour. That's just $1 more than what Senate Republicans, led by Mitt Romney, were trying to pass. Okay. Now they're saying, oh, well, we want to put in our own minimum wage increase. It's $10. Manchin's like, oh, yeah, $11. No, you don't understand. $15 was the compromise. 15 was the compromise. We shouldn't be compromising. That said, Bernie Sanders is still going to try to bring this up, and I'm going to explain how he's going to be able to do that. But first, let me give you the process, right? So now Chuck Schumer said he expects the final version to reach the Senate floor as soon as Wednesday. So now that triggers 20 hours of debate, equally divided by two different sides, including potential amendments to the bill. Then what begins is called a vote-a-rama, in which senators can offer hundreds of amendments to modify the bill. So now during the vote-a-rama, Bernie Sanders, as budget chair, is likely going to bring $15 minimum wage up for a vote as part of an amendment to get it into the bill. So that's where Bernie Sanders can say, no, I'm going to force people to get on the record. If you're going to shoot down the amendment for $15 minimum wage, then you're going to be on the record as opposing an incredibly popular piece of legislation. Do it at your own peril, but we're going to continue to bring it up. And so that's what Bernie Sanders is going to do. Now, after that comes a vote and the final Senate passage of the bill, expected sometime during Friday and Saturday. It only takes a simple majority to pass a reconciliation bill, meaning that the 48 Democrats and 2 independents could do it on their own, with a tie-breaking assist from Vice President Kamala Harris. But what they needed to do is that they needed to get Manchin and Sinema on the record. And so in order to do that, they had to, Biden decided to, instead of ignore the parliamentarian and try to get Joe Manchin to fall in line using his, whatever ways that he can pressure a senator into going along with his agenda, instead sided with Manchin to make compromise. And as a result, it's a PR a nightmare. It's a PR disaster. Bad politics, bad PR, bad policy. What this is, it is a hat trick of failure. Because now Republicans can say, well, the Democrats promised you money, $2,000. Well, they didn't give you $2,000. They lied. And then they lied about raising the wage. We wanted to raise the wage, I mean, $10 an hour, but we wanted to raise wages. So, you know, and you know what? Democrats wouldn't even try to put it into the bill. I mean, what are you doing? Weren't you better off under Donald Trump than you are now? Vote for us. And it's a ridiculous message, and I hope nobody takes them seriously because Republicans don't give a shit about you or your family. But the PR, I mean, again, the PR game is pretty strong with Republicans. And for people who are not paying attention, who don't realize how odious the Republican Party is, you're going to see possibly Democrats losing the Senate or the House in 2022 or 2024. Not good. You know, and it also tells progressives, by the way, hey, all that stuff about working together and trying to do progressive things. Just kidding. We would rather kowtow to Joe Manchin. We chose him over you because, well, we were always going to choose Joe Manchin because we care about more about the so-called centrist Democrats and what they think than the progressives. I guess nobody should be surprised at what's going on here. The Democrats are once again pulling defeat from the jaws of victory. They do it every time they get into power. And we always end up paying the price when Republicans win and begin rolling back progress. All right. We're not done with that. The newest COVID-19 stimulus proposal has been revealed, and it's notably missing a major campaign promise from Democrats. Now, that would be a raise in the wage to $15 an hour. So now President Joe Biden and the White House have caved to demands from Joe Manchin to keep the wages low. Right now, if we don't pass a minimum wage increase, the federal minimum wage stays at about $7.25 an hour. Now, the dropping of this provision from Biden's stimulus bill follows the advice of the unelected Senate parliamentarian. She gave her opinion that the proposal would not be eligible under special rules called budget reconciliation. Now, this is an opinion that Democrats could decide to ignore. They could ignore this. They could say, okay, budget parliamentarian, good for you. We appreciate your opinion, but, you can go somewhere else. We can either ignore you or we can do what Republicans did back when they tried to pass tax cuts for the rich. Their Senate budget parliamentarian said, no, you can't do that via reconciliation. Well, Republicans said, okay, you're fired. And then we're going to bring on somebody who does agree with us. Now, Democrats don't have to go nuclear and fire, but they could say, well, we appreciate your input, but we don't agree. And we're going to put this into reconciliation anyway, especially since a simple majority vote could mean that they make the rules. So, of course, they would have to pressure Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin and rein them in. I'm sure that they have different levers and ways to be able to do that, but that's what they would have to do. So this is understandable. You can't really blame Republicans for this one. This is basically Democrats not being able to get their house into order. So, and that's a problem. So now, as a result of this, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took Twitter to pan this decision to the bill that House Democrats had already passed, which included the raise. So this already passed the House, no problem. The majority of Democrats in the House of Representatives have said, yes, absolutely, we can do this. We don't have a Senate budget parliamentarian, and we have a clear majority. It's a slim majority, but we have a clear majority. we can get this done. And they did. And then it went to the Senate, where Democrats do have technically a majority, 50-50, at least, because of the two independents that caucus with the Democrats, Sanders and King. And then you have Vice President Kamala Harris, who said that she is in support of a $15 minimum wage. And so we shouldn't have any problem corralling the two wayward senators, being able to give them something in return for allowing this vote. Unfortunately, that did not happen whatsoever. And so now AOC goes to Twitter. Here's what she says. It's utterly embarrassing that pay people enough to live. It's a stance that is even up for debate. Override the parliamentarian, raise a wage. And then she offers an example using Denmark. McDonald's workers in Denmark are paid $22 an hour plus 6 weeks of paid vacation. $15 an hour is a deep compromise, a big one considering the phase-in. Now, the phase-in would be over 5 years, so 2025. So now, immediately, if this were to go in, the House version, it would be passed. It would go, we would get an immediate raise to $11 an hour. And then over the next 4 years until 2025, an additional $1. And so now, the phase-in is fairly long, especially considering that really, if all things considered, productivity had caught up to wages, we'd actually be making like $23 an hour for a minimum. And so, hey, that's too fast for a lot of people. So we settled on $15 an hour for right now. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, this has sparked another conversation because she used the Denmark example, and a lot of people were not happy about that. So now, Denmark is a country that is capitalist. Okay, let me just get that out there. They're a capitalist country. They're social democracy, basically. They've got strong social safety nets, labor unions, strong labor rights, very generous welfare state. They're a soc-dem country. And so that's good, right? In some respects, it's good. In other respects, it's not as good. Now, one of the things that's maybe not as good is they pay higher taxes. Now, I don't mind that because you actually get things for your tax money. For example, you get, healthcare, you get education, you get, generally taken care of if you can't work. And so you pay taxes for that and you get stuff in return. I know it's an amazing concept that we haven't quite mastered here in America because, it's better. It's better than America because what we do is essentially we pay taxes to allow giant corporations to get away with not paying taxes. And so, a lot of us, we don't see the benefit from, paying our taxes. And of course, there's a lot of invisible things that taxes go to pay for that do benefit us. But, generally when it comes to things like healthcare, education, all those additional costs that are weighing down the American people, well, we would like some of our tax money to be able to go to that. So, but anyway, now Danes actually pay about an extra 19 cents for every dollar in taxes compared to Americans. But for that, free healthcare, education, subsidized high-quality preschool, very strong social safety net, and very low levels of poverty, homelessness, crime, and inequality. So that's a pretty good deal as far as capitalist countries go. All right. Now, McDonald's workers in Denmark do make about $22 an hour. So now they actually don't, though, have a minimum wage. They don't have minimum wage laws. Now, why is that? How is it that they have such a high wage for McDonald's workers when they don't have a minimum wage? Well, the easy answer to that, of course, is that again, they have very, very strong labor unions. Okay. So they have these unionized, these trade unions that make sure that people who work in these industries actually get paid and can live good lives, as well as, other benefits. So now conservatives only jump on the one part, They say, oh, they don't have a federal minimum wage, which means, since they don't have a federal minimum wage, we should get rid of our minimum wage here, and then we could be as good as Denmark. But they leave out, of course, all the labor union stuff, all the pro-worker stuff. They don't have to mandate it because of the strength of the labor movement. If we had a strong labor movement here, then we could actually do something like that. But unfortunately, if we did what Republicans wanted to and abolished the minimum wage right now, what would happen is that you would have a race to the bottom almost overnight. And I'll tell you pretty much how I think it would go. Southern states and low-wage states already, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, a lot of these states would crash. Their wages would go down to like $2 an hour. And I'm just throwing out numbers. They would go down pretty far, whereas states like California and New York would relatively stay stable, $15 an hour. Okay, and so now that already, and the reason I can throw that out is because this already happens to an extent here in this country because we don't have a labor union, right? We don't have a strong labor movement in this country. And so you have states that are still operating close to the federal minimum wage of $7.25 anyway. And then some states that have, that have more representation, more stronger labor unions, things like that, have higher wages. And so that's what we have. Now, again, the problem here is that unlike in Denmark, which is a high standard of cost of living, but high wages and benefits to balance it out, what we have in America is a high cost of living, but wages that are too low. Plus a lack of benefits, by the way. You tell me any intro job, any like low wage job that offers benefits like healthcare, you're not gonna find a lot. You're not gonna find any, basically. Even some of the good jobs no longer have retirement benefits, no longer have, affordable health care. All right. And so that's a problem. We get all the bad, but none of the good. It's a terrible deal for workers. And to go along with that, one of the worst arguments against raising the wage is that prices will go up when we don't see that. Right now, prices have already continued to increase without any sort of wage increases. Whereas, again, the Nordic countries, where they have higher wages, you really don't see a huge result of those wage increases. And prices actually are pretty similar to what you find here in America. The average price of a Big Mac in Denmark is actually around $5.15 compared to the $4.80 in the United States. Again, that is an average. Obviously, different states, different cities, have different prices, but generally it kind of averages out to about those numbers. And it's not really different between the countries. And so on average, it's not that much more expensive for Danes, but Danish workers actually do so much better compared to America. And so it's a strange concept, I know, for people to understand that McDonald's could pay you enough for you to live on. But it's true. I mean, whatever happened to work being work? Isn't work supposed to be work? Isn't the dignity, like Republicans always tell us about the dignity of work? About, oh, if you just bootstraps, if you just go get a damn job, then you can actually make something of yourself. And then when you do, no, not that one. Okay, but we make the food, we, clean the restaurants, we make sure to serve you, we do all of that stuff. And you're saying that stuff is less important than somebody that's moving around numbers all day on a spreadsheet. Come on. So, as I said before, a lot of conservatives jumped on this and went after AOC. With the normal things, calling her dumb and she's uneducated. Again, she's got an economics degree, so she does understand how it works. And they say, "Oh, I can't believe you didn't know that Denmark didn't have a minimum wage. I'm smart. You were dumb." Well, again, they have really strong trade unions. I would, you know what? The whole reason that the Danish government didn't have to go in and mandate a minimum wage in the first place is because they had these labor unions, a strong labor movement. We need a strong labor movement in this country. And had we not had union buster Ronald Reagan and the Republican Party essentially turn its back on labor. And later on, of course, the Democrats effectively doing the same thing by not supporting labor and not defending unions as much as they should, we would actually have maybe a labor union that probably would have been able to bargain for higher wages, and we wouldn't be doing so badly as we are now as members of the working class. I would take what they've done in Denmark over, what we have here, and understand that the Nordic model does have flaws. It is based on capitalism, and as such, capitalism is inherently based on exploitation of, countries that are less wealthy. The things that we're doing in Africa is just disastrous. The stuff that we're doing, the exploitation. But understand that, like, these Nordic countries, they at least are able to take care of the people that live there. And again, I don't agree with everything that especially Denmark is doing when it comes to immigration and things like that. But generally, they do know how to take care of themselves. And in this country, we should also be able to do that. Okay. And what they're doing over there is a lot better than what we're doing here. And maybe, maybe we should adopt some of those social democratic policies in order to make things a little bit better here. But of course, they won't do that because, well, money in politics, number of billionaires, all that stuff. And so what we're going to continue to do, unfortunately, unless we change that and change our government, is, well, we're going to continue to deal with the things that we're doing. Okay. All right. Move on. We got one more. Now a little bit of fun. It appears that Alex Jones is not happy with Donald Trump and actually expressed his true feelings in a leaked video. Let's take a look.
Part of me, the selfish part, wishes I'd never met Donald Trump, wishes that I'd never met Roger Stone, because unlike previous things I'd done that were game-changing, those were just time-space continuum reflections of the third big change I was going to be involved in, and that was bringing Donald John Trump into Austin. I'm just going to say that again. I said Austin into office. Because you guys are asking really good questions. This is going to be a really good thing, but I'm going to say it again in a minute. Let's drink some of this Armani. I'll try to say it. Because it's the truth, and I'm just going to say it, that I wish I never would have fucking met Trump. I wish it never would have happened. And it's not that the attacks that I've been through. I'm so sick of fucking Donald Trump, man. God, I'm fucking sick of him. And I'm not doing this because it's like I'm kissing his fucking ass. It's just like I'm sick of it. I'll do it in a minute.
How much money do you want to bet that he was blitzed? Come on. You think that guy hadn't put away like a six-pack before doing that? I think he was. I mean, wow. Wow. So let me give you some detail, all right, from where this came from. This was linked by a filmmaker, Kaylin Robertson. Now, Kaylin Robertson shot a propaganda film that was pro right wing. Said entitled "You Can't Watch This." Challenge accepted. Just say, he linked the footage to the Southern Poverty Law Center's Hate Watch initiative. which monitors far-right extremism in the U.S. Robertson told Hate Watch that Jones asked him to discard the footage, probably after he sobered up, after it was shot in January 2019 back in Austin, Texas. He provided text messages between him and Jones corroborating his account. So the question here is why would a right-wing propaganda filmmaker leak the footage to the Southern Poverty Law Center? Would that not invalidate your work at propaganda? Turns out there's a reason for that, right? So now he says that he shared the footage to expose how Jones is exploiting Trump supporters and his own audience, he told the group during that same shoot. He recalled that Jones bragged about making tens of millions of dollars back in 2018 and mocked his audience, claiming that they would, quote, buy anything. So again, that goes back to where, you know, he was probably super smashed and said some things that he kind of regrets now. He's like, I probably shouldn't have said that. It was globalists. They poisoned my water. That's what happened. It was a deep state that was trying to get me to invalidate Donald Trump. Please don't air that footage. Please don't air that footage of me actually being honest. I mean the globalists. A globalist agenda. I mean, the guy couldn't even form like a coherent sentence at some point. Wow. So, but here's the thing too about this. I feel like it's a no shit story because we already know about Alex Jones. But we already knew. His audience doesn't know. His audience is deep in the bubble. But we know, right? We know Alex Jones is a grifter. We know Donald Trump's also a grifter. But we knew that basically since he admitted in court that like, no, you don't understand. I'm an actor. I'm doing acting. So I don't really believe in the stuff that I'm saying. I'm just playing a part, playing a character. That's what it is. Now, again, that's harmful. I think, because a lot of what he says is pretty bad, but again, he doesn't believe any of it. And he's actually making money hand over fist, duping his audience with some of the things that he's saying. Now, Robertson told Hate Watch, quote, Alex Jones doesn't care about most of the stuff he professes to. It just shows he doesn't care about anything he talks about. He doesn't like Trump, but then he goes on camera talking about how Trump is the savior, which, of course, after Trump lost, for a while, at least to Jones, he lost his appeal, as well as QAnon, right? So now QAnon, millions of people are like, oh my God, it turns out the FBI did not arrest Joe Biden for being an alleged pedophile and, drinking the blood of infants. Wow, it turns out we might be wrong about this whole thing. Really? No. Who could have known? Oh, right. All of us. Sane people. That's who. So now lost his appeal and so Trump's not a hot commodity. Now he still is in the Republican Party, still is in right-wing politics. And so Jones is going to go back to kissing Trump's ass. But for a while, I mean, at least we know how he really feels. And so if we see Jones going back to kissing Trump's ass, well, we know what it's about. It's about money. It's about the money. But again, he admitted this. And then after admitting it, he said, oh, no, I've said too much. Please get it away from me. Take it down. Whatever you do, don't leak it. Well, and it got leaked. Grifter. Scam artist. That's what he is, of the highest degree. And normally I wouldn't feel bad about Republicans that have been scammed. But again, Alex Jones has done a lot of damage to real human beings. Okay. In the pursuit of profit. The families of the victims of Sandy Hook, for example, the Sandy Hook shooting, were hounded relentlessly by people that were informed by Alex Jones that, they were crisis actors and the kids were never really kids. They were hired by the deep state by, to go and try to take away your guns. 1776 will rise again. I mean, it's that kind of stuff that he pandered to his audience, told them all these things that I guess they wanted to hear, and were willing to pay him for. And then there you go. And he made this money and people got hurt. And it's worse finding out that he actually doesn't believe in any of the things that he says. Again, an actor, a character, someone who knowingly says horrible things for a paycheck. That's like actually the worst kind of person. It wouldn't, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it wouldn't be so bad if he actually believed it. Because then you can say, well, yeah, I mean, there's something wrong with him, obviously, but at least, but he believes this stuff and can be changed, can be reprogrammed. That's a bad thing to say. It's a bad term, especially when you're talking about Alex Jones and conspiracy. Oh, do you hear that? TYT Nation, the Waldorf Nation. They're trying to reprogram me using deep state satellites. But again, he's an entertainer who doesn't actually care about anything that he talks about, just about the spectacle, just about the views, the clicks, the donations, selling of the merch. Again, grifter of the highest order. Okay, that's what he cared about. But it is interesting. It really is interesting seeing him saying that he was sick of Donald Trump in this documentary, because Trump's not a likable person. You know, he's not a likable person, and it's not just because of his politics. It's because he's an asshole, and he's a narcissist. I generally don't like people who fall into either of those. Okay, and I think for one person to see, I should say, it takes one narcissistic grifter to know another. All right, and that's what it is. Jones is a narcissistic grifter. Trump is a narcissistic grifter, and they do not get along. So now I mentioned that there was one more thing about the person who made this, right? Why they did this. Well, Robertson, the filmmaker, was a true believer. Okay. And he used to be a massive right winger and has since disavowed his previous work. In fact, Robertson, according to Hate Watch, who's worked closely with many far-right provocateurs, went viral himself back in 2017 when he was filmed giving a racist and vitriolic speech following the Westminster Bridge terrorist attack in London. He has since tried to rehabilitate his image, stepping away from the things that he had previously believed and thought, and told Hate Watch he is working to undo the damage he did while working with extremists like Jones. So now for me, I think that's good. I'm a progressive. I do believe in some cases rehabilitation. I do believe that if people are genuinely sorry and disavow the things that they had once believed and once said, that we should allow them to be uncanceled, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to be a better person and you've made mistakes in the past, and God knows we all have, right? Then you should be able to apologize, own up to it, and be able to, be accepted again. Okay? And so that's the thing. Now, good on him. Good on him. So now, also good on him for helping to corroborate what we've known about Alex Jones and his followers all along. That, again, he is a grifter. And as I said before, there's two kinds of people in the Republican Party. There's the grifters. There's the marks. All right. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for going on this with me today. I do have some super chats I'm going to read. Let's see. Virginia Thomas, Ice Dragon says, "Hey, Texas, need to talk to you about our energy problems. Squirrel. Anyway, Now take your mask off. And then where's the Alex? I swear to God, I'm working on it. We need emotes. I have no artistic abilities. Wasn't this video made in 2009? Yes, absolutely it was, but it just came out. And so that's why a lot of us are reporting about it, I should say. Jones should be rehabbed while his victims are under police. No, Jones can't be rehabbed because Jones was never a believer in the first place. Jones has always been a grifter and will continue to be a grifter. Yes, it was done in 2019. Did I say 2009? I said I thought I said 2019. I don't know. I didn't get all that sleep last night, so. That's why the show's a little bit low energy today. Let's see. What is this? No, Tia, you did not hear that correctly. Let's see. Yes, Mithro, you're absolutely right. As progressives, we have to believe in rehabilitation. Otherwise, we betray a fundamental part of what we believe. It's true. It's very true. Let's see. Wow, Drunken Dragon. Whoa. Just because you see them doesn't mean. Well, that doesn't mean. Hold on there. Whoa. Back the truck up there, buddy. For one, I'm not saying that like. I'm not saying what you think I'm saying. If that's what you mean. What I'm saying is that grifters and narcissists can see each other. And so it does take one to know one to an extent, right? And of course, like if you, let me try to word this correctly, right? So I know a narcissist, okay? I used to be friends with the one. And so I understand exactly what you're saying, okay? And I know, but when I was dealing with this person, I didn't know that he was a narcissist. And it was only afterwards that I realized what that was. Everything started to click. And so, yeah, if you know somebody and you've grown up under that, then of course you're going to see that. But not a lot of people who haven't had experiences with that generally don't see a narcissistic behavior, don't understand, because one of the traits about, one of the traits that is related to narcissism is a charming personality, at least at the beginning. Okay. And so, yeah, didn't mean to upset you there on that. And I figured I could clarify. Narcissistic personalities sort of can't change. The abuse will continue. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to say rehabilitate Donald Trump or Alex Jones. That's not what I'm saying. So understand that. Okay. But there are people that have been tricked by this narcissism that can be. All right. Anyway, narcs need supply. Two cannot peacefully coexist. It's true. It's true. All right. Anyway, I've got a meeting in a little bit, so I got to get all this stuff edited. So what I need to do is I'm going to end the stream here. So we'll go over to. I've got some people to give a shout out to as well. Thank you, Granny Dragon, for gifting 3 tier 1 subs to the community. Much appreciated. Thank you for helping the channel. I do appreciate that very, very much. It's very, very helpful. Thank you to the new follows as well. Again, sorry, I'm very low energy today. because I'm just not in my element. Not in my element today. All right, so anyway, I work very hard with many professionals, try to teach people how to see them. They don't become victims like Q people and Trumpers do. That's great. No, I appreciate that work. We definitely need more of that. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Anyway, thank you all. Love you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and share the stream. And we will see you all later on. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you later.
I will eat your ass.
I like my meat. Tighten up my meat.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Please quiet.
I have not loved this conversation.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.